Your loyalty through their actions, Hayes said finally. Those who serve the Alliance faithfully will be welcomed as equals. Those who plot against us will face the consequences. The galaxy had turned its back on Humanitone Year after the Devourer. War, the galaxy was a very different place. Admiral Rick Hayes stood on the observation deck of the new capital station, looking out at the ships that moved through space around him. Human vessels worked alongside alien craft, but everyone knew who was really in charge. The Terran Alliance controlled everything now. Trade routes, military forces, communication networks, even the laws that governed daily life. Humanity had gone from exiled outcasts to the rulers of known space in less than 6 years. "The morning reports, Admiral," said Captain Janet Scott, handing him a datapad. She wore the uniform of the Alliance Navy now, with rank insignia that marked her as one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Hayes read through the reports with the practiced eye of someone who had been making life-and-death decisions for decades. The Zephyrian colonies were requesting permission to expand into a new star system. The Vextari wanted to establish a new trade route through human space. The Therian hive worlds were asking for military protection against raiders. Every request had to be approved by humans. Every decision had to serve human interests first. It was the price the aliens paid for their salvation. "Any problems?" Hayes asked. "The usual complaints," Janet replied. "Some alien groups think we are too controlling. Others think we should be more harsh with former council members. But nothing we cannot handle." Agent Kate Lewis entered the room, carrying intelligence reports from across the galaxy. She had been promoted to Director of Alien Affairs, responsible for monitoring the loyalty of humanity's new subjects. Her job was to make sure no one was planning another rebellion. "The hegemony is causing trouble again," Kate reported. "Chancellor Verteth has been making speeches about alien pride and independence. Nothing openly rebellious, but he is testing the boundaries." Hayes was not surprised. The hegemony had always been proud warriors. Being ruled by the species they had once exiled must have been especially painful for them. "What do you recommend?" "A show of force," Kate said. "Send a fleet to their home system. Let them see our new ships. Remind them what happened to species that opposed us before." Hayes nodded, but something in his expression suggested he was thinking about more than just military displays. "Schedule a meeting with Vartef, face to face. I want to talk to him directly." "Sir, is that wise?" Janet asked. "He might see it as a sign of weakness, or he might see it as a sign of strength," Hayes replied. "Only the strong can afford to show mercy." The meeting took place on neutral ground, aboard the space station that orbited the ruins of the old Galactic Council headquarters. Verteth arrived with a small escort, his warrior's pride still evident despite his reduced circumstances. He was older now, his scales dulled by stress and defeat. "Admiral Hayes," Verteth said, his voice carefully neutral, "you honor me with this meeting." "Chancellor," Hayes replied, using Verteth's old title out of respect. "I wanted to speak with you about the future of your people." They sat across from each other in a simple room with large windows that showed the stars beyond. Between them lay years of conflict, exile, war, and uneasy peace. Two leaders who had once been enemies, now trying to find a way forward. "My people are not happy," Verteth said bluntly. "They served with honor in the war against the machines. They followed human commands without question. But they feel like prisoners in their own space." Hayes leaned back in his chair. "What would make them happier?" "Respect," Verteth said immediately. "Recognition that they are partners, not servants. The hegemony has a proud history. We are warriors, not slaves. You are also the species that voted to exile us," Hayes pointed out. "You wanted us gone from the galaxy. Now you complain that we rule it. Verteth's eyes flashed with anger, but he controlled himself. We were wrong. I have said this publicly many times. We misjudged humanity's value to the galaxy. But how long? Must we pay for that mistake? Hayes was quiet for a long moment, considering. Outside the window, he could see human patrol ships moving between the planets. Everywhere in the galaxy, human technology and human decisions shaped daily life for billions of beings. Do you know why we saved you? Hayes asked finally. Because you needed all eyes against the machines, Verteth replied. No, Hayes said. We could have handled the machines alone. It would have been harder, but we could have done it. We saved you because we chose to be better than you were to us. The words hung in the air between them. Verteth studied Hayes' face, trying to understand what the human leader was really saying. What do you want from me? Verteth asked. I want you to help me build something new, Hayes said. Not human domination over aliens, not alien submission to human rule. Something that serves everyone. Back on the Capitol station, Hayes called together his senior staff. The conference room was filled with the men and women who had guided humanity through its darkest and brightest hours. They were tired now, aged by years of constant crisis and decision-making. We have a choice to make, Hayes told them. We can continue ruling the galaxy through fear and force. Or we can try something different. General Amy Foster spoke first. With respect, Admiral, fear and force are working. The aliens obey our orders. Trade is flowing. The peace is holding. But for how long? Asked Dr. Linda Wright. Fear breeds resentment. Resentment breeds rebellion. Eventually, it will try to overthrow us. President Ben Clark, now serving as civilian administrator of the Alliance, nodded in agreement. We have the power to destroy any rebellion before it starts. But is that the galaxy we want to live in? Captain Steve Collins raised another concern. If we give them too much freedom, they might try to exile us again. They might decide they do not need human protection anymore. Agent Kate Lewis had been monitoring alien communications across the galaxy. The younger generation of aliens does not remember the exile, she reported. They see humans as protectors, not conquerors. But the older generation still holds grudges. Hayes listened to the debate with the patience of someone who had made countless difficult decisions. Around him, his advisors argued about the future of galactic civilization. Each opinion was valid. Each concern was real. There is something else to consider, said Dr. Sam Parker, speaking from his research station. The devourers we reprogrammed are still out there. They are protecting the galaxy now, but they follow our commands. What happens when we are gone? It was a sobering thought. Humanity had become the guardians of the galaxy, but humans were mortal. Someday, new leaders would take their place. What kind of galaxy would they inherit? I have been thinking about this for months, Hayes said finally. We have proven that we can rule through strength. We have shown that we can protect the galaxy from external threats. But ruling is not the same as leading. He activated the holographic display that showed the current state of galactic civilization. Human colonies were marked in blue, alien worlds in various other colors. Trade routes, military installations, and communication networks created a web of connections across known space. Look at this, Hayes said. We control everything, but control is not trust. Obedience is not loyalty. If we want the galaxy to survive and prosper, we need to build something that lasts longer than human military superiority. Janet Scott leaned forward. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting we give them what they want, Hayes said. Not everything, not all at once, but enough to show that we can be trusted with power. The room erupted in arguments. Some called it wisdom. Others called it weakness. A few worried that it was the first step toward another exile. Hayes raised his hand for silence. I am not talking about giving up our leadership. I am talking about earning it, making the aliens want to follow us instead of forcing them to obey us. Over the following months, the Terran Alliance began to change. Alien species were given more autonomy over their internal affairs. Trade restrictions were relaxed. Military. Occupation forces were reduced on worlds that showed loyalty and stability. The changes were not popular with all humans. Some military leaders worried about security. Some colonists feared losing their privileged status. A few politicians argued that humanity was giving away the victory it had earned through blood and sacrifice. But the changes were popular with many aliens. The Zephyrians established new cultural exchanges with human colonies. The Vextari shared advanced crystal technologies in return for human engineering knowledge. Even the Thurians began to see humans as partners rather than masters. The real test came when the Altarians requested permission to form their own defense fleet. They wanted human advisors and human technology, but they wanted their own ships, under their own command. The debate in the Alliance Council was fierce. Many humans saw the request as the first step toward rebellion. How could they trust the aliens with weapons that might someday be used against humanity? Admiral Hayes cast the deciding vote. Approved, he said simply, but with conditions. The fleet will be jointly commanded. Human officers will serve alongside alien officers. And the ships will be designed to defend the Alliance, not any single species. The Altarian Defense Fleet became a model for similar forces throughout the G. The first Devourer scout entered the galaxy like death itself. It was as big as a moon, but moved like a living thing. Its black surface absorbed all light, making it look like a hole in space. Weapons covered every inch of its hull, weapons that could turn matter into pure energy. The alien response was pathetic. The Vextari Third Fleet, once the pride of their crystal civilization, fired everything they had at the machine. Their most powerful weapons struck the Devourer's hull and simply disappeared, absorbed like water into sand. The machine did not even slow down. Admiral Rick Hayes watched the battle from the bridge of the Retribution. Around him, humanity's finest warships hung invisible in space, their quantum cloaking systems hiding them from both the aliens and the machine. The weapons that had terrorized the galaxy were now being prepared for a very different enemy. The alien fleet is gone, reported Commander Janet Scott from the tactical station. The machine consumed their ships and used the matter to build more weapons. It is getting stronger. Hayes nodded grimly. The Devourers were everything the intelligence reports had suggested and worse. They did not just destroy civilizations. They consumed them, turning entire worlds into more copies of themselves. How many more are coming? Hayes asked. Captain Steve Collins checked the long-range sensors. Thousands, sir. Maybe tens of thousands. They are spread across a front that spans half the galaxy's edge. The transmission came from an unexpected source. Chancellor Verteth of the Hegemony appeared on the main screen, his proud warrior's face marked by desperation. Behind him, Hayes could see the bridge of a damaged warship, sparks flying from broken systems. Humans, Verteth said, his voice breaking. We know you are listening. We know you are out there, watching us die. We were wrong to exile you. We were wrong about everything, but please, help us. Help us save what is left of our worlds. Similar messages flooded human communication networks. The Vextari offered to share their most secret technologies. The Thurians promised to give humanity entire star systems. The Zephyrians begged for mercy, offering to serve as humanity's slaves if it would save their species from extinction. President Ben Clark convened humanity's leadership for the most important decision in their species' history. The debate was fierce and emotional. 5 years of anger and resentment filled the room like poison. "Let them burn," said Colonel Frank Davis, his voice hard with remembered pain. "They cast us out when we were no threat. Now they come crawling, back when they face real danger. Where is their pride now?" "They called us monsters," added General Amy Foster. "They said we were too violent, too dangerous for civilized space. Let them face this threat with their civilized methods." "But, Doctor," Linda Wright disagreed. "Every minute we debate, entire worlds are being consumed. Billions of innocent people are dying. We cannot let our anger blind us to what is right." Agent Kate Lewis, broadcasting from deep inside alien territory, added her voice to the debate. "I have seen the fear in their eyes. I have watched proud species reduced to begging. They understand now what they did to us." "Is that not enough?" The argument continued for hours. Some wanted complete revenge. Others wanted to help immediately. A few suggested helping, but demanding a terrible price. The room was filled with voices, all trying to decide the fate of the Galaxy. It was Captain Lisa Warren who provided the key insight. "They called us barbaric, and we proved them right. They called us dangerous, and we embraced it. But they also called us human. Being human means we protect the innocent, even when the innocent have wronged us." Dr. Sam Parker had been working frantically to analyze the Devourer technology. His quantum scanners had found something important, something that might give them a chance. "The machines are all connected," he reported. "Every Devourer shares information with every other Devourer through quantum entanglement. It makes them incredibly efficient, but it also makes them vulnerable." "How vulnerable?" asked Admiral Hayes. "If we can disrupt their network at the right frequency, we can turn their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. We can make them attack each other instead of us." Hayes looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. These were the men and women who had guided their species through 5 years of exile and preparation. Now they faced a choice that would echo through history. "Send a message to the surviving alien fleets," Hayes ordered. "Tell them we will help, but our help comes with conditions." The conditions were simple but absolute. Humanity would lead the defense against the Devourers. All alien forces would follow human commands without question. After the crisis, a new galactic government would be formed with humanity as the senior partner. "And one more thing," Hayes added. "They will publicly apologize for the exile. They will admit they were wrong, and they will promise it will never happen again." The alien response was immediate and unanimous. Every surviving species agreed to humanity's terms. They had no choice. The Devourers were consuming star systems at an accelerating rate. Within months, the entire galaxy would be nothing but machines. The Battle of the Void Reach began 3 days later. It was the largest space battle in galactic history, with thousands of ships from dozens of species fighting side by side. But everyone knew that the real fight would be won or lost by the humans. Commander Janet Scott coordinated the quantum strikes from her flagship. The human fleet, though vastly outnumbered, carried weapons that could affect the Devourer network directly. "Target their communication nodes," she ordered. "If we can break their connection, they will become confused and vulnerable." The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Alien ships used conventional weapons to distract the Devourers, while human vessels struck at their quantum network. The machine intelligence that controlled the swarm began to show signs of confusion. Dr. Parker worked frantically from his mobile laboratory, analyzing the Devourer responses in real time. "I am getting readings on their control frequency," he reported over the battle communications. "If I can isolate it, I might be able to inject new programming into their network." "What kind of programming?" asked Admiral Hayes. "Instead of telling them to consume and destroy, we could tell them to protect and build. Turn them from destroyers into guardians." The idea was brilliant and terrifying. Instead of simply defeating the Devourers, humanity would reprogram them to serve life instead of death. But the process would require getting close to the main Devourer command ship, and that meant risking everything. "I will do it," said Captain Steve Collins, commander of the destroyer Vengeance. "My ship is the fastest and most heavily armed. If anyone can get through their defenses, it is us." The final assault was desperate and costly. Collins led a squadron of human ships directly into the heart of the Devourer swarm. Alien vessels followed, sacrificing themselves to clear a path. The space around the command ship filled with explosions and debris. "We are through," Collins reported. "Beginning quantum injection sequence." For 5 minutes, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Parker's programming virus fought against the Devourer control systems. The machines began to turn on each other, confused by conflicting commands. Then, suddenly, everything changed. Devourers stopped attacking. Their weapons powered down. Their engines went silent. For a moment, the entire galaxy held its breath. Then the machines began to move again, but differently. Instead of consuming the wreckage of battle, they began to repair it. Instead of destroying damaged ships, they began to fix them. The programming had worked. "They are no longer destroyers," Parker reported, his voice filled with wonder. "They are now protectors. They will guard the galaxy against future threats and help rebuild what was lost." The aftermath was swift and decisive. The Galactic Council, its credibility destroyed by the crisis, dissolved within days. The surviving alien species were too grateful and too frightened to resist humanity's leadership. Admiral Hayes stood once again in the chambers where humanity had been exiled. But now he wore the uniform of Supreme Commander of the New Terran Alliance. The alien representatives who had once dismissed his species now sought his approval for everything they did. "The galaxy turned its back on us," Hayes said in his inaugural address. "They tried to make us disappear. But we did not disappear. We grew stronger. We became better. And when they needed us most, we were there." He paused, looking out at the assembled representatives of dozens of species. Some looked grateful. Others appeared resentful. All of them looked afraid of what humanity might do with its new power. "Our first priority is to rebuild what was lost," Hayes continued. "Our second priority is to make sure this never happens again. The galaxy will be united under human leadership, but it will be a just leadership. We will not rule through fear, but through strength and wisdom." Captain Janet Scott, now promoted to Admiral of the Defense Fleet, stood at Hayes' side. "What about the species that voted for our exile?" she asked quietly. Hayes considered the question carefully. Around them, the former enemies of humanity waited for his answer. They had begged for help and received it. They had agreed to follow human leadership, but trust would take time to rebuild. They will prove that. The attack came without warning. Across 17 star systems, alien military bases simply disappeared, not destroyed by explosions or fire, not damaged by weapons. They just stopped existing, as if they had never been built at all. Commander Janet Scott watched from the bridge of the Retribution. The huge ship hung invisible in empty space, its cloaking systems making it impossible to detect. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. They had trained for this moment for 5 years. "Quantum strike packages are ready," reported Lieutenant Pete Johnson from the weapons station. His young face was calm, but his hands moved quickly over the controls. "All targets are locked." Janet looked at the tactical display. It showed the positions of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. 12 species had voted to exile humanity. Today, those 12 species would learn what humans could do when they were angry. "Execute Operation Shadow Strike," Janet said. Light years away, impossible things began to happen. On the Vextari homeworld, The crystal beings watched in horror as their main computer center cracked like an egg. The cracks spread through the crystal matrix, destroying centuries of stored knowledge in seconds. Etherian hive ships were next. These massive vessels carried millions of the insect-like aliens. Their queen chambers, the most protected parts of the ships, suddenly collapsed inward. The queens died instantly, and without them, entire fleets became confused and helpless. Zephyrian orbital stations around their water worlds suffered reactor failures. The underwater cities they had taken thousands of years to build were consumed by their own power sources. Millions of the tentacled beings died in the first hour of the attack. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Their holographic forms flickered and jumped as panic filled their voices. The alien leaders who had once been so confident now sounded like frightened children. "How is this possible?" demanded Chancellor Verteth of the hegemony. His warrior species had never known fear, but fear filled his voice now. "How do we fight an enemy we cannot see?" "The attacks come from nowhere," reported Fleet Commander Zaxthil of the Altarians. "Our sensors detect nothing. Our shields stop. Nothing. Our weapons hit nothing. It is like fighting ghosts." That was when Admiral Rick Hayes appeared in the center of their meeting room. His image was solid and clear, transmitted through quantum entanglement directly into their most secure facility. The technology should have been impossible, but there he stood. Hayes looked older than when the aliens had last seen him. His hair was completely white and new scars marked his face. But his eyes burned with the cold fire of someone who had spent 5 years planning revenge. "Members of the former Galactic Council," Hayes began. His voice was calm and steady, which made his words even more frightening. "You wanted us gone. You got what you asked for. But you made one big mistake." The assembled aliens listened in terrified silence. This human who stood before them represented a species they had thought was defeated and broken. "You thought exile would make us weak," Hayes continued. "Instead, it made us free. Free from your rules. Free from your laws. Free from your idea of civilized behavior. You called us barbaric, so we decided to show you what barbaric really means." Captain Lisa Warren appeared beside Hayes. She was no longer a diplomat trying to make peace. Now she wore the uniform of humanity's Psychological Operations Division. Her job was to make enemies afraid, and she was very good at it. "We have been watching you," Lisa said, "learning your weaknesses, understanding your fears. We know which of your colonies are most important. We know which of your leaders are most valuable. We know exactly how to hurt you." The Therian representative made frightened, clicking sounds. "What do you want from us?" Hayes smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "We want you to remember this day. We want you to understand that humanity does not forgive. We do not forget. And we do not give second chances. But most importantly," Lisa added, "we want you to tell everyone what happened here. We want the whole galaxy to know that the humans are back." The transmission ended, leaving the alien council members staring at empty air. In the silence that followed, they could hear the sound of their own breathing and the hum of their stations. "Life support systems. What do we do?" whispered the Zephyrian representative. "We run," said Chancellor Verteth. "We run and hope they let us live." The panic spread across the galaxy like a plague. Trade routes that had been safe for centuries now required massive military escorts. Merchant ships jumped at sensor shadows. Military patrols fired at anything that moved. General Amy Foster coordinated the fear campaign from a command ship that existed in folded space, never staying in normal reality long enough to be detected. The reports coming in from across the galaxy showed that humanity's plan was working perfectly. The Zephyrian Third Fleet opened fire on a Vextari convoy yesterday, reported Intelligence Officer Mike Thompson. They thought it was a human stealth attack. The Vextari are demanding an apology and payment for damages. The Alliance is breaking apart. Dr. Maya Johnson had developed the next phase of the psychological war. Her team could now perfectly copy any alien communication system. They could make any species appear to send any message to any other species. We can make them destroy each other, Maya explained to the War Council. A fake Therian message calling for war against the hegemony. False Zephyrian battle plans targeting their own allies. We can turn their entire civilization into a circular firing squad. President Ben Clark studied the intelligence reports with satisfaction. The species that had exiled humanity were now spending more time and resources fighting each other than they ever had defending against outside threats. Their great civilization was eating itself alive, Agent Kate Lewis, still working deep inside. Alien territory sent regular updates on the chaos. Fear is everywhere, she reported. Alien civilians are fleeing their home systems. Military units are deserting. Some planets are surrendering to empty space, hoping that humans will show mercy if they give up without a fight. But Captain Steve Collins brought disturbing news from the edge of known space. Admiral, our long-range sensors are picking up something big, really big. And it is not from any species we know. The readings were impossible to believe. Something was coming from outside the galaxy, something that made the largest alien dreadnought look like a tiny fighter ship. Whatever it was headed straight for inhabited space. Admiral Hayes studied the sensor data with growing concern. How long until it gets here? At its current speed, maybe 6 months, Collins replied. But sir, the energy readings suggest it is not slowing down. Whatever this thing is, it is not planning to stop and talk. Hayes called an emergency meeting of humanity's senior leadership. The irony was not lost on anyone present. The galaxy that had rejected humanity now faced a threat that might destroy everything, while humanity possessed the only weapons that might be able to stop it. Dr. Sam Parker had been analyzing the unknown object through long-range quantum scanning. What he found was both fascinating and terrifying. It is not a ship, he reported. It is a machine. A self-replicating, self-improving machine that consumes matter and converts it into more of itself. How do we fight something like that? Asked General Foster. We might not be able to, Parker admitted. But there is one possibility. The machine appears to be controlled by a central intelligence. If we can disrupt that intelligence, the entire system might collapse. The debate that followed would determine the fate of not just humanity, but every living thing in the galaxy. Some argued for letting the aliens face this new threat alone. They had exiled humanity, so let them deal with the consequences. Others pointed out that if this machine consumed the entire galaxy, humanity would eventually face it alone. Better to fight it now while there were still allies available. Even if those allies had once been enemies. It was Lisa Warren who asked the most important question. What kind of species do we want to be? The ones who save the galaxy, or the ones who watch it burn? Hayes looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. These men and women had spent 5 years preparing for war against the aliens. Now they faced a choice that would define humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Send a message to the Galactic Council, Hayes said finally. Tell them we know about the threat. Tell them we might be able to help. But make it clear that our help comes with conditions. What conditions? Asked President Clark. Hayes smiled grimly. Full membership in whatever government replaces the Council, equal representation in all decisions, and a formal apology for the exile. The message was sent through quantum entanglement directly to the Council chambers. The response came back within minutes, and it was exactly what Hayes had expected. Aliens were begging for humanity's help. 5 years had passed since the exile. Earth was different now. The blue and green world that had once been humanity's peaceful home was now a fortress. Every moon, every asteroid, every piece of space rock had been turned into a weapon or a shield. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez walked through the massive underground factory on Luna. The moon's surface looked the same as always, gray and empty. But underneath, humans had built the largest war machine in history. Thousands of workers moved through tunnels that stretched for miles. Robot arms built ships that had never been seen before. The new destroyers are ready for testing, Tony told the War Council. The men and women around the table looked tired. They had been working without rest for 5 years. But their eyes were bright with purpose. General Amy Foster studied the ship designs on her screen. The new human warships looked nothing like the smooth, pretty vessels the aliens built. These ships were ugly and brutal. They had thick armor and big guns. They were built to fight and win. Can they work alone? Amy asked. For 18 months, Tony said. They can fix themselves. They can make their own supplies. They can fight without any help from home. President Ben Clark looked at the intelligence reports on his desk. The spy networks humanity had built during their time in the galaxy were still working. The aliens thought these spies were gone, but they were wrong. Human agents still watched and listened from the shadows. Agent Kate Lewis sent a secret message from deep inside alien space. Her words were hidden in code and sent through many different routes to avoid detection. The Council is planning something big. All the alien fleets are growing. They are preparing for a major operation. The breakthrough came from Dr. Sam Parker. He worked in a secret lab under the ice of Europa. For 3 years, he had been playing with the basic forces of the universe. What he found would change everything. I have learned to make quantum entanglement into a weapon, Sam told the science committee. His hair was messy, and his eyes were red from too much work. But he was smiling like a man who had found the secret of the gods. Dr. Linda Wright, the military scientist, leaned forward. Explain it so we can use it. Think of it this way, Sam said. I can put a bomb inside an enemy ship without ever getting close. I can break their computers, stop their air, or destroy their power. All from many light years away. They will never see it coming. The room was quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The aliens had called humans barbaric. Now humans would show them what real barbarity looked like. Meanwhile, in the deepest vaults of Earth's military headquarters, historians studied every war humans had ever fought. They read about ancient battles with swords and shields. They studied modern conflicts with tanks and planes. They learned from every victory and every defeat. Colonel Frank Davis put together the final war plan. We cannot match their numbers. He said, we cannot build as many ships as they can, but we can make them afraid. We can make them think twice before they attack us. The plan was simple but terrible. Humanity would not fight like the aliens expected. They would not line up their ships and have a big battle. Instead, they would strike from the shadows. They would hit the aliens where they felt safe. They would make the entire galaxy afraid of the dark. Dr. Maya Johnson worked on the next part of the plan. Her team had learned to copy any alien technology perfectly. They could make their computers speak any alien language. They could make their ships look like any alien vessel. We can make them fight each other, Maya explained to Admiral Hayes. We can send fake messages. We can make the Therians think the Vextari are planning to attack them. We can make the Zephyrians believe their allies are plotting against them. Hayes nodded. The old admiral had gotten even older during the 5 years of preparation. His hair was completely white now, and his face was marked by the weight of command. But his eyes still burned with the fire of someone who would never give up. How many ships do we have? Hayes asked. 300 of the new destroyers, reported Captain Janet Scott. 50 heavy cruisers. And the Retribution. The Retribution was humanity's secret weapon. It was the largest warship ever built, hidden in the Thieves' asteroid belt where no alien spy could find it. The ship was more than a weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's refusal to die quietly. Tony Martinez had put his best work into the Retribution. The ship could become invisible to any sensor. It could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Its weapons could destroy entire fleets. But the most important part of humanity's preparation was not the ships or the weapons. It was the change in the human spirit. The exile had hurt, but it had also freed humanity from the need to be nice. The aliens had wanted them gone. So humans had stopped caring what the aliens thought. Agent Kate Lewis sent another message. This one was more urgent than the others. The alien fleets are moving toward the Sol system. Whatever they are planning, it will happen soon. President Clark called an emergency meeting. All of humanity's leaders gathered in the deep bunker, under the Rocky Mountains. The room was filled with generals, admirals, scientists, and politicians. They all knew that the next few months would decide if humanity lived or died. "They are coming," Clark said. "Our agents report that 12 different alien fleets are moving toward Earth. They want to finish what they started 5 years ago." Admiral Hayes stood up. His uniform was clean and pressed, but his hands were steady on his weapon. "Then we give them what they want. We give them a war." General Foster activated the holographic display. It showed the positions of all known alien fleets. Red dots marked enemy ships throughout the galaxy. There were thousands of them. "The odds are not good," Foster said. "They outnumber us 50 to 1. Maybe more." "Good," said Colonel Davis. "If the odds were fair, it would not be interesting." Dr. Parker spoke from his position at the science table. "The quantum weapons are ready. We can strike anywhere in the galaxy at any time. They will not know what hit them." Hayes looked around. The room at the faces of humanity's defenders. Some were young and eager. Others were old and scarred by previous battles. All of them were ready to fight. "The aliens think they know us," Hayes said. "They think we are simple and predictable. They think we will fight like they do, with honor and rules and fairness. They are wrong." He walked to the center of the room and pointed at the star map. "We are going to teach the galaxy what happens when you corner a human. We are going to show them why they should have left us alone." The meeting ended with a simple command: prepare for Operation Shadow Strike. In the months that followed, humanity's war machine moved into position. Ships launched from hidden bases throughout the Sol system. Quantum weapons were targeted at alien installations across the galaxy. Spy networks activated sleeper agents, who had been waiting for years thought the galaxy was about to learn that exiling humanity had been the worst mistake in galactic history. The aliens had thought they were getting rid of a problem. Instead, they had created a nightmare that would haunt them forever. The shadows were moving, and humanity was ready to strike. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the big white room on Citadel Station. His hands were behind his back, and his face was hard like stone. Around him, 12 alien species appeared as blue-like pictures. They were the Galactic Council, and they were about to destroy humanity's future. The Vextari ambassador spoke first. It looked like a walking crystal, shining with different colors. Its voice was cold and mean. "Humanity is no longer welcome. In the Galactic Federation, your species is too dangerous, too wild, too violent for civilized space." Jake felt his jaw tighten. 50 years. 50 years, humans had been part of the galaxy's biggest club. 50 years of trade, friendship, and shared knowledge. Now it was ending, because the aliens were afraid. "We have helped you," Jake said, his voice steady. "When the Kepler plague almost killed the Zephyrian colonies, who found the cure? Humans did. When your ships could barely travel between stars, who made faster engines? Humans did. The Therian representative made clicking sounds with its mouthparts. It looked like a giant bug with 4 arms. Yes, you solve problems, but you solve them by breaking things. You use force first and think later. This is not how civilized beings act. Captain Lisa Warren stepped forward. She had been humanity's voice in the council for 10 years. Her hair was gray now, and her eyes were tired from too many fights like this one. We have given more to this galaxy in 50 years than some species have given in 1,000. This decision is wrong. The Zephyrian council member floated in its water tank. Its tentacles moved in patterns that meant disagreement. Your military grows every year. Your ships carry bigger guns. Your colonies expand into space that is not yours. You are becoming a threat. A threat to who? Lisa asked. We have never attacked a council member. We have never broken our treaties. We have saved lives and made the galaxy safer. The Altarian representative, a tall, thin being with 6 eyes, spoke next. You think like warriors, not like diplomats. When the hegemony pirates attacked our trade routes, you did not negotiate. You destroyed their entire fleet. You killed thousands. They were murderers and thieves, Jake said, his voice getting louder. They killed innocent people. They stole from poor colonies. Someone had to stop them. Someone had to stop them, yes, the crystal alien said. But you could have captured them. You could have put them in prison. Instead, you chose death. This is why we fear you. Jake looked around the room at the 12 species. Some looked sad, others looked afraid. A few looked angry, but they all looked determined. The vote had already been decided before this meeting started. The decision is final, the Therian said. All human colonies outside the Sol system must be empty in 6 months. All trade agreements are ended. All communication with the Federation is cut off. Humanity is alone. Jake felt something cold in his stomach. Alone. Humanity would be alone. In a galaxy full of aliens who feared them. Cut off from the stars they had helped explore. Banned from the trade routes they had helped build. Lisa tried one more time. Please, think about what you are doing. Humanity has friends in the galaxy. We have allies. We have people who care about us. Your allies will forget you, the Vextari said. They will trade with us instead. They will choose the Federation over humanity. This is how it must be. The meeting ended. The blue light pictures disappeared one by one until Jake and Lisa stood alone in the empty white room. They could hear the hum of the station's engines and the whisper of air through the vents. What do we do now? Lisa asked. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned and walked toward the door. We go home. We tell our people what happened, and we get ready. Ready for what? For whatever comes next. 6 months later, the last human transport ship left Kepler Station. The aliens watched from their ships as humanity packed up 50 years of galactic life. Shops closed. Offices emptied. Families said goodbye to alien friends they might never see again. Admiral Rick Hayes stood on the bridge of the warship Defender as it escorted the last convoy home. He was old now, with white hair and deep lines around his eyes. He had fought in the border wars and the hegemony crisis. He had seen humanity's best and worst days in space. Admiral, said Captain Steve Collins, we're getting reports from our deep space stations. The aliens are moving ships, big fleets, military formations. Hayes nodded. He had expected this. The aliens were not just kicking humanity out. They were getting ready to destroy them completely. How long do we have? Hard to say, sir. Maybe a year. Maybe less. Hayes looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between worlds, humanity's enemies were planning there. destruction. They thought humans were too dangerous to live. They thought exile was not enough. Send a message to Earth, Hayes said. Tell them we're coming home. Tell them to get ready for war. As the last human ships jumped into hyperspace, leaving the galaxy behind, none of them saw the alien scout ships that followed. The Galactic Council wanted to make sure humanity really left. They wanted to make sure humans did not come back, but they also wanted to know where humanity went. Because deep down, the aliens knew they had made a terrible mistake. They had not destroyed humanity. They had freed it from all the rules and laws that had held it back. Soon, the galaxy would learn what humans could do when they had nothing left to lose.